Hi, welcome for our online training sessions. In this session, I'm going to explain 5 basic questions in account payables module, what they will be asking. So this I'm going to show you practically where exactly we'll find the solution for that. The first question is, the supplier is created and supplier site also is created, but I'm not able to find the supplier name in the invoice page. Whenever we try to create supplier, whenever we try to create an invoice, supplier name is not exist, or we are not getting the supplier name in the LOV. What could be the reason? The reason is very simple. You are creating an invoice for a particular business unit, right? So let's say you are creating an invoice for US1 business unit. So what we will do generally, we'll go for create an invoice and we'll choose the business unit first here. The moment when we choose the business unit, we'll get all the suppliers. Supplier is global. Supplier is global. But if this supplier is not having any sites for this business unit, then this supplier will not be available. Make sure that at least one site is associated with this particular business unit. Then only we'll be able to find the supplier name. So generally what we think is supplier is a global, right? So when the supplier is global, then we are supposed to get it right. We are supposed to get the supplier. But if the supplier does not have any sites which are assigned for this particular business unit, then obviously we don't find the supplier name. That's the answer. So in the interviews, we are supposed to explain that the current business unit, whatever we are working here, may not be having the supplier sites assignment for this. That could be the reason for not having the supplier name here. So where do we find supplier assignment? For example, Advanced Corporation is the supplier name. And what is the site? AC US1. AC US1 is the site. Let's go to Navigator and let's go for procurement supplier. This Navigator menu looks like completely different. It's actually old model. We cancel the invoice over here. Go to Navigator. Go to suppliers. And we search for the supplier. Let's go to manage suppliers. Advanced Corporation. I could see that the supplier name is exist here. But when we go for supplier site here, we are not going to find, I think so, because the current employee is not exist. Let me just try here. Go to sites tab, will come to know. See, you can maintain sites only if you are with access to manage suppliers. So this user is not a procurement buyer, is not a procurement agent. So that's the reason you are not able to find it. You are not able to find the sites information. Okay. So what we have to do is if you want to know whether the supplier is having the site, if he is having site, whether the site is associated with the particular business unit, we must be a buyer. Let me just log in as a buyer, then we can find out here. Kelvin Roth is one of the buyer. I think password is not there. Right now we have connected with this Kelvin.Roth user. This user is one of the buyer. So this user is one of the buyer. Now we can get it from Navigator. Go to Navigator. Procurement suppliers. Go to task list here, manage suppliers, search for the supplier name called Advanced Corporation. Here, let's go for edit. Now this buyer is working for the business unit called US1 business unit, so that he can view the sites which are available or assigned for US1 business unit. He cannot view other sites. Okay, so whatever the sites are associated for US1 business unit, that we can find, because he is working for US1 business unit as a buyer. Okay, so why if you do not have any site which is not available, that is the first reason, supplier will not exist. That is the first one. Then second one is, there might be another reason. The moment when you are working with the supplier site here, there is a checkbox here, pay. If this checkbox is disabled, that time also you don't find. Site is there, but that site we are using to purchase the goods from the suppliers, not to make the payments to the suppliers. So that could be the reason, second one. The third one is, your supplier site is exist, maybe it is inactive. By using the dates here, we can go for inactivate. Right now the status is active, it may be inactive. Okay, so that could be the another reason over here. Okay, so this is how we can go for identify the particular inactive dates and the site is not exist here. Okay, the second this is a basic question, that why the supplier name is not exist while creating an invoice. So we are supposed to check the business unit. Second one, this checkbox. The third one is this invoice date that we are supposed to verify. So these are the things we are supposed to verify. Okay, next, the second question is, whenever we are creating a payment term, at what level the payment term will be created? What level the payment term will be created? So payment term is created at what level? When I say what level in the enterprise structure, what level it's going to be defined? In enterprise structure, what level? Enterprise structure means what are the organizations we have? We have the organizations like enterprise, legal entity, business unit, legislative data group, primary ledger, and business unit inventory organization. These all are this, right? So whatever the payment term we are going to create, is it at a legal entity level or ledger level or business unit level or reference data set level? This is very important. The payment term generally will create at RDS level only. It's mandatory. We cannot assign the payment term directly to the, we cannot assign the payment term directly to the business unit. We have to assign the payment term to the reference data set. Then this reference data set will be associated with the business unit. Okay. So why the Oracle has given this option? Why don't we assign it directly to the business unit? So it's very simple concept. Reference data set is basically to share or to refer some set of data to the business units, either one object or multiple objects. Okay. So whenever we are working with the payment terms, we will ask our client, whatever the payment term we are going to create, is it for all the business units or is it for specific business units? Is it for all the business units or is it for specific business units? If it is for all the business units, here we can find set assignment. Your payment term should be assigned for the reference data set called common, so that your payment term will be available for all the business units. Okay, but client is telling, I would like to assign this payment term only for few business units. I don't want to assign this payment term for all the business units. Then what we will do is, we cannot We cannot use the common reference data set. Common reference data set we cannot use. We have to create a new reference data set. For example, immediate is there. We'll find immediate almost in every business unit because that is associated with common reference data set. Okay, so if at all you want to assign for some other business units, we can create a new one. That is the second question generally we'll expect. So payment terms will be associated with the reference data set level and assign this RDS to business unit. Next, distribution set. What is distribution set and why it is required? At what level we are going to define this option? Distribution set is basically to distribute invoice amount to the different accounts. Distribution set will be used to distribute our invoice amount to the different accounts. Okay, so whenever we are creating an invoice, we will enter the information at three levels: headers, lines, and distributions. In the distributions, we are going to enter the accounting combinations. It makes sure that the expenditure, whatever we are going to get, it comes for which company, which department, which account, that we are going to find out over here. Okay, so then we are going to find out these distributions become as an accounting entries. So those distributions I wanted to go for create automatically. That is possible by using this distribution set. Distribution set will directly assign to the business unit. It's not going through the reference data set. It's not going through the reference data set. Because why the payment terms is having RDS concept? Why the distribution set is not having RDS concept? It's very simple. Payment terms are common for almost all the business units. When you say common, then instead of assigning the payment term for every business unit one by one, we can group it and assign. So it will reduce the data entry, and also the information can be shared very easily across the business units. But distribution sets are different from one business unit to another business unit. That's the reason we are going to create a business units. Sorry, we are going to create a distribution set and we will assign directly to the business unit. There is no question of reference data set concept here. That's the third question. Distribution set regarding that. Next one is when we are working the account payable setups. Whenever we are working with account payable setups, where do we set the invoice default distribution account? By default, whenever you create an invoice in account payables, we are going to get accounting entries, right? From where you will get like miscellaneous account, transportation means freight account, or any other. That is a invoice common options for payables and procurement. We have to go to the task, common options for payables and procurement. It will ask us for which business unit you are doing all these setups. Choose the business unit here. And we can see that liability account, prepayment account, bills payable, discount taken, miscellaneous price. So the moment whenever you raise the invoice for this particular business unit, by default, these distributions will be populated. For example, you have created a prepayment invoice. This account will come automatically at invoice line level. Sorry, distribution level. Automatically it comes. Okay. So this is about the invoice accounts. They'll expect that all these things will do it at common options for payables and procurement, and this is going to be our business unit here. Then of course we have invoice options and payment options that they may not expect. Whenever we are going to create a payment, means we are going to make the payment to the supplier. I would like to change the payment method. Generally what happened whenever you go for the supplier site level, supplier site level, we will find the payment method. Let's go back to our supplier site level here. Log in as a buyer so that we can view the supplier sites information here. Manage suppliers. Search for your supplier name here. Go to supplier site level here. Let's go for edit this option here. Now here we can find the payment method. Here we will specify the payment method. So default which payment method you would like to configure for this particular supplier, electronic or check payment method, which one you would like to go for it. So for example, I'm going to mention this is a check payment method. So you can go for enable it here. Check this. This is the payment method. And we can find bank accounts here. In case if we are going to make the payments to this supplier through this bank account, we are going to do. Now let's go for save and close. So from this, we will be getting this payment method. Of course, this is the default. The moment when you raise the invoice for this supplier and for this supplier site, by default, that payment method will be taken. But still, if you want to change the value, it can be changed. Let me try to raise an invoice here, payables invoices. Now let's go for create an invoice. Selecting US1 business unit, choose the supplier, advanced corporation, invoice number, invoice amount, $10,000. It's okay, no issue. Let's go to lines here. I'll save this particular invoice here. Now go to invoice actions, manage installments. Here we can find payment method. It is electronic payment method we are getting default. By default, we are getting the electronic payment method. At the time of creating an invoice, we got electronic payment method. If at all we want to change this payment method, we can change from here. This is check payment method we have, electronic we have, and other options also we have. So this is how we can go for make the payment method changes at the time of creating an invoice. Okay. So one is supplier site level. We can go for enable the payment method. I think it's still not approved. That's why it's not populated. Otherwise, supplier site level is the highest priority. Always the lowest one will have highest priority. So we'll be getting this value over here. Okay. So this is another question they'll be asking us in the interview point of view. payment method, how to change the payment method while creating the invoice. So go to invoice, manage actions and manage installments. And we can go for make the changes here. According to that, it will be done. So this is the another one. Okay. Next, the fifth question. When we are going to make the payment, I would like to cancel the payment. How will you do it? For example, we created an invoice and we paid the amount. Still the amount is not clear. Still the amount is not clear. We would like to go for cancel the payment. We can always cancel the payment. If the payment is already done, we can always cancel it. How to do that? How to cancel the payment? Let's go to payables, payments option. Go to task list here. Let me go for create a payment here. Or we can take some existing payment which is already done, recently completed. Okay, that's a group of payments. Let me go for create a payment for the supplier advanced corporation. From which bank account we are going to disperse this amount, and payment method we are going to choose check here, and payment process profile. Let me take this as a standard check format. We are going ahead. Payment document here. This is this number, it comes from bank account. While configuring the bank account, we'll get it from there. So we can choose this. Let's say we are going to make the payment for this invoice. For this invoice, we are going to make the payment. Save and close. So we'll find the payment number here. So payment number is 4023. That's the payment we have done successful. Let me search the payment status. Enter the payment number here. Click search button. We'll come to know what is the status here. Now we can see that still payment status is negotiable. Status is negotiable. So for example, I would like to go for cancel this payment. Then what we have to do, go to actions. There is option called void. We have to go with void option. When we click void, then we'll come to know when you are going to cancel this void date and accounting date. What is the invoice action? For so-and-so invoice, you have made this payment, right? So what you would like to do it? You want to cancel that corresponding invoice, or you don't want to take any action, or you want to place hold on invoice, or you want to stop the invoice, that will be selected. So I'm not going to do anything. These three options are there. Depends on the requirement, you are going to select this here, whether it is cancel invoice or none, or place hold on invoice. These options. I'm not going to take any action against the standard invoice. I just want to simply cancel the payment. We'll do it payment later. Payment will do it later. That click submit button. Now done. We can find the payment status is voided. Payment status is voided. So this is about the basic questions, what we will expect from the setups point of view in account payables. There are a lot of other questions, but this regularly will be expecting here. Thank you.